for the very lovely welcome, and it's really, really fantastic to be back here. I was here in January 2020, just before the world almost fell apart, and it is such a wonderful city, and it's such an incredible ecosystem that you are building here. So I am actually the outgoing CEO of UKIE. I've been in this job for 11 years now, 11 and a half years, and in July I'll be leaving, sadly. I won't be leaving the games industry. Well, I kind of am, because I'm joining the music industry. And I will be heading up the BPI, which is the representing the Great British Music Industry and the labels. And I am very excited about that because I see such an amazing industry in the games industry and interactive entertainment. These virtual worlds, social virtual worlds that we build are incredibly powerful, and I am extremely passionate about this sector, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that the industry has given me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at UKIE in helping to build exceptional games ecosystems. And I have a little help with me in our little virtual allies now, or are they, which are developing, called AI. And I've asked a couple of questions of Bard to help me with this presentation. Before I go into that, just to explain who we represent. So UKIE is the trade body. We're the voice of the UK, fantastic UK games industry. We represent, I think it's almost or just over 600 member companies now. There are over 2,500 games businesses. Many of them, the majority of them are tiny, up and down the UK, all around the UK, which is a real benefit. And we represent, we don't really use the words publishers and developers anymore. We kind of say big company, small company, everything in between. We also represent platforms, esports companies, VR, AR, and so on. We also have as part of the ecosystem, partner members, so legal firms, accountancy, and we try and help them to get business, but also for our studios and publishers and other games businesses, they get good deals, and it helps them a great deal to save money. And we also have a really important student network, because part of making a really good ecosystem is about the next generation of talent. So I'll explain a little bit about that. And you will also hear from the wonderful Shanila, who is here this next couple of days. And she's going to be doing an education workshop tomorrow and a panel session. And she'll go into detail into some of the things that I'll touch upon today. So really, over the last kind of 11 years in this job, what it is that we try and do is to tell our story as the most powerful communications medium of the 21st century. That's games. I truly believe that the ideas, the worlds, the themes, the ways in which we provide a platform for people's emotions, for experiences, the combination of the skill sets involved in creating these incredible experiences is amazingly powerful. And we should be telling that story to everyone, but particularly to the world of policymakers, who will help us thrive or not as businesses. And when I sort of looked at how we tell our story in the UK at UKIE, there are kind of three broad areas that we try and talk to people about. And everything that we do as a team, I've got a team of 20 people who are absolutely brilliant. By the way, no ecosystem is complete without a team of absolutely brilliant people who are very committed to the role and very committed to the mission, which is to make the UK the best place in the world to make, sell, and play games. But really, the way in which we do this is we talk about and highlight the importance of games to the economy, the people who are employed, the value of consumer spend, the contribution to local economies, not just in London, but across the UK, that games and our industry makes. We also try and really show the positive aspects of play, not just in terms of it's fun, it's entertainment. We're the future of fun and entertainment, not just the present. But also how much games are a really positive force for good. We saw that during the lockdown, how much Games meant to people as a way to socially connect and be together without being physically together. So we also try and really focus on finding the best kinds of research to make sure we can tell that story, particularly around mental health, because I think games are often very, very much associated with mental health issues, and actually, if you flip that narrative around, games support mental health in so many positive ways. And of course, the impact overall of games in society, how we're actually playing our part as an industry which is made up of people who care, who have families, who care about big societal issues because it impacts them. And this includes sustainability, this includes caring about the climate, the planet that we're living in, because without that care, we're not going to have any games, because we won't have a planet, unless Elon gets his way and we move to Mars. And I think that is really, really important. This picture was, we were really, really greatly honored to be at Gamescom for our 10th year, I think. And we picked up the first ever Green Award at Gamescom for our stand that we run and help businesses to do business on. And that was a real honor because we are fully committed to playing our part as a company and to try and get our member companies to play their part too. So when we sort of think about an ecosystem, you know, we think about how we can keep it fresh, how we can keep it healthy, how we can have this diverse kind of really fun, great industry so that everyone can enjoy it and that everyone knows what we're on about. Part of the way we do that is through events like this. You know, every single trade association has some sort of event that they're associated with, if not, that they run, because it's a brilliant way to really put games in our industry in the face of people, in the streets, to bring people together, to shine a big international spotlight on the wonderful businesses that you might have within your ecosystem. We partner with Film London, which is a charity, but it's a sort of semi-London government-funded, Mayor of London-funded agency, and the Mayor of London himself actually funds part of what we call the London Games Festival. And it's an amazing experience. We had 800 businesses there this April. We have a huge footfall across London through events. We have events that take place in unusual places, which is really important because, you know, people think about games. They sometimes still have a stereotype of what games mean. And this festival is about putting games in front of people, putting them in unusual places, mixing, showing their cultural value, not just their economic value. We had a brilliant VIP event in the Tower of London. Barely anyone got out alive with their head on. And it was amazing to see that juxtaposition of the very, very modern creative industry that we are in one of the ancient prisons, I guess, and landmarks of London. And also a key part of London Games Festival is really demonstrating to families and to parents and to children that game design itself is really, really fun, not just playing the games. And this is now Play This, which happens at Somerset House, which is a massive cultural institution. And it is brilliant because it's full of experimental game design. Our industry is full of people who like to tinker, who like to experiment, who like to push the boundary. And some of these games actually make it onto the market. But it's a really incredibly powerful way to get families understanding the value of play and potentially thinking about games as a career. We also really focus in the festival in some of our big landmarks in London, so we actually put stuff in Trafalgar Square, which the first year we did it, we had a giant Monopoly board. And that was the first time Monopoly had actually done a giant Monopoly board, and it was a history of the UK games industry all around the Monopoly board. And now they actually do that Monopoly board elsewhere all over the world. But it's really important. You've got people who are not self-selecting and going to a games event. They're just walking through London, through Trafalgar Square, and seeing what we have displayed there. And in this case, it was something called Ensemble, which is an annual gathering, a selection of fantastic people representing underrepresented groups in the industry. And we profile them, and we do amazing photos of them, and we put them right in the center of London. But if you think about, I mean, that's all well and good, but if you think about, if you're trying to actually develop an ecosystem, if you're trying to actually think about how to maintain an ecosystem, I've been thinking a lot about this since lockdown when I moved into my other halves, and he has a garden. It's all full of slate, and I also played Animal Crossing every day of 2020. And I really got obsessed with soil and with plants and with the seasons and this whole ecosystem in this garden that I hadn't really ever noticed before. So I sort of got really, I thought, how do you explain what an ecosystem actually is? So I asked Bard. Because you either ask ChatGPT's so yesterday, you have to be using Bard. It's also got a name, so it's much easier to say. So I asked Bard. I've got a couple of these. Bard, for those of you who don't know, is Google's AI chat bot. And it really makes it a lot easier to really Google stuff. Bard says a healthy ecosystem is one that is able to function properly and provide its members with the resources they need to survive and thrive. I didn't put in anything about games or about what a trade body's role is in helping the ecosystem in a sector. This is just an ecosystem. For a really healthy ecosystem, you need abundant and diverse species. You need adequate food and water. You need clean air and water and a healthy habitat. I also thought, okay, well, that's all well and good, right. So what else? What makes an exceptional ecosystem for games? I asked Bard. Bard came back with this. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if there are any UKIE reference points in its answers, but it says, okay, an exceptional games industry ecosystem has a strong pool of talent. And that's not just publishers and developers, it's everyone. It's artists, it's designers, it's marketing people. It's all that whole skill set that is needed in a company. You also need robust infrastructure, and in that I think I would also include actually a really good regulatory environment, a really healthy regulatory environment that doesn't put barriers in the way of businesses doing what they do best, but actually protects people at the same time. But you need things like high-speed internet and so on. You also need abundant investment. We are very fortunate in the UK that we won the argument to actually secure tax reliefs for game development in the UK. So you get 20% of your development costs, and that's now been replicated in territories across the world. And that's really important. When governments and public funding actually invests and backs an industry and believes in it, it gives everyone confidence. It makes everyone believe in this. And it also helps with actually hiring people and actually making games, and then delivering that back into the economy. And the way in which we have done and gone about trying to secure those kinds of ingredients as part of a healthy ecosystem is by taking games to Parliament. We go to Westminster on a regular basis. We put games and interactive showcases on at least once a year. And it's really important to get MPs and politicians hands-on, as well as talking to the people who make games and actually experiencing the fun and the diversity of innovative content and experiences that we're creating right here on their doorstep. And these, it's always worth reminding them, are voters as well. Bard went on. Bard got a little bit boring at this stage because I thought, okay, all right, I'm going to start asking you questions because you're getting it all right. God damn it. Bard says that actually one of the best ways to build a healthy ecosystem is to invest in education and training. We in the UK, and not just in the UK, are not just facing a skills issue or a skills gap. We have a global skills crisis because for some reason, there still exists a stereotype about creative industries in general, but games as what do you mean there's a job in there? What do you mean I can actually earn money? And parents are very worried. They're looking at the state of global economics, and they want their kids to be in safe jobs. And unfortunately, creative industries like games don't necessarily come straight to your mind if you think about a safe job. They don't even know what job titles are We don't even know sometimes what our job titles are because we make it up as we go along because we're very fast moving. We've got to be better at doing that so that we can create those pathways for people to be inspired into our industry. Another way to really make sure this ecosystem remains healthy and diverse is to support game development studios in particular. You know, we've seen a record amount of investment and acquisitions in the UK over the last 2 years and 3 years. That's great, because that's more money invested into these companies that mean that they can hire more people. But we also need more startups. You need those fresh seeds. You need diversity of species doing different things, making different kinds of experiences in order to keep that ecosystem really healthy. And of course, the absolute fundamental key to that is promoting diversity and inclusion. This is not a nicety, it is a necessity. We have a whole global audience yet to reach. We're already at 4 billion, we can go further. We need to reach them with different ideas, with different stories, with different kinds of characters. In the UK, we have a really, really healthy partnership with lots of different organizations now that have sprung up and are really trying to invest properly in games and in talent. We have BAFTA's Young Game Designer competition, which encourages school-age children to make games or to come up with game concepts. We have apprenticeships, and apprenticeships that are funded by the government, not quite working quite yet, but that's a route in if you don't want to go for university degree routes. We work with Intergames, a fantastic organization, so that they can put on parents' evenings, so that they can educate parents and help them understand that this is a future career that they need to be interested in. And lots of other initiatives like that. But I just want to zero in on some of the issues that I think are not necessarily getting enough attention. So we do need to make sure that the focus on diversity and inclusion continues. It's not a job done if we have these targets that we put in place of 50% women, for instance. That's not diversity. Diversity is intersectional, it is two-dimensional, and it means diversity of perspective and experience, not just diversity of who you are and the identity that you embody. It needs a whole rethink in terms of how we get different perspectives and stories to be made in games. We really committed to this back in 2020, just before the lockdown. We created something called Raise the Game, which is a pledge that we give to the whole industry. And we asked them to sign up to 3 simple things. And it's a pledge that we are going to start to think about how we hold companies to account with. And the 3 simple steps that you can take is about hiring in a more diverse and inclusive way. It is about creating welcoming places to work. And it is about, therefore, reflecting the diversity of our players and our future audiences and the audiences we want through representation in games. It's not quite good enough yet. And why do we take this really seriously? Well, because we know that the data tells us that there is big issues still to be addressed. We are doing the games industry census every 3 years now. The first one was in 2020, and we launched the pledge with the census, with this 62-page report that really dug into the diversity of who we are in the UK working in the games industry. And this is incredibly powerful because it tells a story of where we need to actually address some of the gaps. One of them is around disability. We've just launched a campaign with one of our member studios called Manycats, called Impact, because only 4% of the games industry identified as disabled. 18% identify as neurodiverse. That is actually pretty high. And neurodiversity covers a whole spectrum of hidden disabilities. So we want to do the same thing that we've done through London Games Festival with Ensemble and try and achieve the profile of people with disabilities working in the games so that companies can think differently, potentially, about how they represent disability, but also how they actually provide working environments for people with disabilities. Bard went on, I tell you. Bard explained why all of this is important, why building a healthy ecosystem is important. We know this. It delivers economic benefits. We know that we employ and support over 70,000 people in jobs in the UK, deliver over 5 billion in GVA to the economy. It gives us cultural benefits. An exceptional ecosystem can help create creativity and promote innovation. We are the leaders in innovation and creativity. We are the apex of innovation and creativity. And not a lot of people remember that. I was told I got 25 minutes, so I'm going to go a little bit over time, sorry. And if you do all of that, and if you look at those benefits, ultimately, the social benefits are huge. A healthy ecosystem can help build community, can foster social connections, can bring people together in many different ways, in ways that we really need, and in ways that we saw were so valuable, again, during lockdown. We simply articulate it like this. So everything that Bard has said, we know, okay? This is a circle of joy, I see it. When you have the games industry that is healthy and the ecosystem that's healthy, you have talent and creativity driving innovation, which is driving societal and cultural impact, which is driving economic success, and it goes round. What government or what society would not want that? We have many more people we need to reach. As said, we've got 4 billion people playing games globally. The European industry is worth 23 billion. The global industry is over 200 billion. We can do more. We need to do more, and we are doing this through the programs that we've created at UKIE. The talent programs that I mentioned, you can hear more from Shanila about that tomorrow. But these are all the education programs that we either run ourselves or are involved in. And this is critical. We can't have an industry without people feeding the industry with their talent. And it's incredibly important to be able to do this and have permission of your membership and of your stakeholders to be able to really take this seriously. A lot of our job is to make sure that the regulatory environment is friendly. And that means telling governments and regulators, educating them, telling them about the benefits, stopping them doing stupid shit, and making them do good shit. And we do that, again, we were in number 10 Downing Street. I was unfortunately on holiday the day that the Microsoft and Activision acquisition decision by the CMA in the UK was blocked. That didn't matter. That didn't stop us going in number 10 and demonstrating the power of games. We need to continue to be the best places to work. We have a talent crisis. The talent that we have is very, very mobile. They can go to other studios. We need to create the best places to work so that we can retain the talent in our industry. We do that by sharing best practice all over the country. We go on tour, we help businesses connect with other businesses, and we help them understand and learn from each other how to be the best places they can be. And critically, all of this needs to be pinned by great data. I love data. I was a geographer by training, so I love maps. This is our newly relaunched map of the games industry. This is very, very, very cool because you can see all the active games companies across the UK and where they are. And this is very powerful politically. We also have other kinds of data that we tell our story through, which is really looking at our consumers, how much they love spending their money on all things games, not just the games themselves, but events and games culture. Be accessible and inclusive at your core. We are only going to continue to grow and to continue to be healthy when we have this at our core, when we make our games as accessible as possible, when we make our workplaces as inclusive and kind as possible. Have an answer for everything. It is a little bit of a mantra for me at work. When governments and society is worried about mental health, let's do a mental health campaign. Let's use the power of games to connect people and support their mental health. Let's demonstrate how games can be physical, how Pokemon Go gets you up, how Zumba was the top-selling game for a very long time. Let's tell people about the commitments we're making to the climate. Let's all join playing for the planet. the UN's program for the games industry. We have seen extraordinary growth. The pandemic has really fueled that growth. Lots of the tech and innovation that we're creating is going into other industries, is fueling virtual production and film production and all sorts of other productions. We are redefining entertainment, and we are the future of entertainment. But we have some massive challenges. This is not Bard. This is probably created by Lenza. But AI is a huge opportunity for us in the industry. AI has gone hand in hand with games since Turing. Let's not fall for the narrative that it's a threat. Let's embrace it and really make it a positive opportunity. So what is the ecosystem that you're going to create? What does the ecosystem look like for the next 10 years? The next decade is up to you, because I'm off to the music industry. Some useful links there.